From Atlanta, Georgia, welcome to Fearfully and Wonderfully Me, a podcast for women on leadership and life skills with Rhea Story. Rhea shares powerful life and leadership principles, helping you maximize your potential and become the woman God created you to be.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's episode on attitude. And today's episode is the first of 7 in a series on my new book, Achieve. And this book came out a few months ago in the fall. And Achieve is an acronym that stands for attitude, choices, humility, integrity, energy, vision, and excellence. Because these are the 7 keys that help us unlock success and significance in life. So I talk about these 7 characteristics as the keys to maximizing our potential in life. Um, and I love this book. It's actually an expanded and revised edition of the very first book I wrote. Almost 5 years ago now. And when I wrote that very first book, I mean, really, it was like 64 pages. It was just a mini tip book. It was very small, just very short, 4 inches by 4 inches, very tiny pages, and just some little vignettes and stories and little tips about applying these characteristics in your life. And as I've grown and as I've done more speaking and more writing and more coaching, I realized that, I kind of hit on something in the very beginning when I first started writing books. These are really some of the foundational characteristics that help us unlock success in life, however we define it, and they help us be significant in life. And by that, I mean finding meaning and purpose in our life. So I re-released that very first book, but I expanded it and revised it and added to it and really created an entirely new and much bigger and deeper book on it. But like most of our books, both my books and Mac's books these days have just 3 pages. They're very easy to read, and I love to put the information in kind of bite-sized pieces. Um, but I said all of that to say, this topic is one that I get so excited about because it's really, when I look back over the course of my life, even before I started studying leadership principles, these are the characteristics that I applied to become successful in life. And someone was asking me last night, Mac and I spoke for a church group, a small group for Church of the Highlands and some other folks last night in Alabama. So we are very, it's always a privilege to go in and share some great leadership principles with all kinds of different groups, and always exciting to meet new people and be able to inspire them by sharing the lessons that we've learned through our journey. And someone asked me of my books, which one would I recommend as kind of a foundational, just getting started? And I have to say that this book is the one I recommend because this one really applies to all of us. Whether we are a high schooler and just getting ready to start the next chapter of life, or whether you're a business owner, we never really get away from those 7 principles and those characteristics that help us be successful, however we define it. So I thought about that, and I thought I want to do a 7-part series. So 1 episode on each of the attributes and kind of dig into it a little bit. And of course, if you want to go deeper, get the book. But I really love to share some quick nuggets on each of these topics with you. So the first letter, as I mentioned, stands for attitude. And I really think that this is where everything starts. The thing about attitude is it creates the possibility in our life for good things to happen. Attitude creates positivity. Attitude creates our perspective, and attitude creates our potential. You've probably heard the saying that says, if you can believe it, you can achieve it. Well, maybe that's true. But there are certainly things that we might not be able to achieve, just maybe due to physical limitations. There are some limitations in life. But one thing is true: if you don't believe it, you won't achieve it. Because if you don't believe it and buy into that it's possible, you won't create the energy in your life that will help you execute on the actions that you need to move forward in order to make that a reality. So I love to talk about attitude because it does create possibilities and potential in our life. And the thing about attitude is it's always a choice. Now, it may not be an easy choice, and I know that. Believe me, I know there are always going to be times in life that challenge us to be positive and to be uplifting. But it's always a choice that we make. What happens to us in life isn't what's most important. What's most important is how we allow it to affect us. We don't always get to choose what happens in life, but we always get to choose how we respond to it. Attitude can make or break the situations that you face in life every single day. And making a decision to have a positive attitude can turn a bad situation into a good one because it does change our perspective and it changes our feelings and it changes our actions. Um, and I know I talk a lot about attitude, but I just believe it's so foundational to the keys of success in life and influencing other people. John Maxwell said that 85% of our success in life is due to attitude. And our attitude towards life determines life's attitude towards us. We can look at any situation in life and we can look for the positive things and we can look for the negative things, but we always find exactly what we're looking for. It's like Marianne Williamson said, joy is what happens to us when we allow ourselves to recognize how good things really are. Joy is a choice that we make. Stephen Covey calls this re-scripting. He calls it re-scripting ourselves into a positive, proactive state where we choose how we can respond to a situation based on what we really want rather than the feelings and the emotions of the moment. Because one thing is certain, when things are going bad and when life is tough and maybe you're sick or maybe you're going through a divorce or maybe you're going through a situation where you've lost your job and you're stressed out. But we always have that ability to step back and look for what's positive. What's interesting about attitude, David Joseph Schwartz said that how we think shows in how we act because attitudes are mirrors of the mind. They reflect our thinking. And so attitude affects not only our success in life, it affects our influence with other people. Because if attitude is a mirror of the mind, and I choose to be a negative person, I choose to have a negative attitude, I choose a bad outlook on life when things are going wrong, that affects how other people see me. And we've all had that experience of people in our life who are there just weren't any fun to be around because everything was a problem, or they were always looking for the bad in a situation. The sun comes out and they're always talking about the negative side, how hot it is. Or the rain clouds come and they're always talking about, well, gosh, I needed it to be sunny today. And certainly things in life happen that we don't want and that disappoint us. That's absolutely true. I'm not saying that life will always be perfect or that there won't be problems. There will be. There will be problems. But our attitude is what determines whether we choose to be a victim in our mindset or a victor. We can choose a negative attitude, and in doing so, we choose to be a victim to what's going on in our lives. Stephen Covey talks about victimism gives your future away because then you throw away the possibilities and you say, well, because this happened, then I can't do this. Or I had a bad day because of whatever, fill in the blank. And in doing so, we're saying that I'm allowing whatever happened to influence not just my state of mind now, but my future and my possibilities in my life. And that's a sad thing because really we're giving away our opportunities to the circumstances that happen. And I already talked about, circumstances are going to be bad sometimes. They absolutely are. I wish that wasn't true. But we're here on earth and bad things will happen. But when we allow those things to dictate not just our joy in the moment, but also our possibilities of the future, we're choosing to give our future away. And your attitude, it affects your feelings and your actions. And when you make that choice, you either become the master of it or the victim of it. And it's really just a choice. I've heard Nick Vujicic speak several times. If you haven't heard Nick Vujicic, you've got to look him up on YouTube or Google him. He is a motivational speaker born with no arms and no legs. And if you're Googling him, first name is Nick. Last name is spelled kind of differently. So I'll spell it for you. It's Vujicic, Vujicic. And I've heard him speak several times. He's a fabulous motivational speaker and evangelist. And one of my favorite quotes from him is he says, "Often people ask how I manage to be happy despite having no arms and no legs. And the quick answer is that I have a choice. I can be angry about it, or I can be thankful that I have a purpose, and I choose gratitude." And this is someone who's born with no arms and no legs. And most of us can't even comprehend how different life would be if we were born like that as he was. And yet he chooses to be positive, and he chooses that positive attitude that creates possibilities. The key here is focusing on what we can control and stop making excuses as to why we can't do something that we can't control. Stop focusing our energy, because we're often very good at creating excuses as to why we can't do something. And even worse, we talk ourselves into believing them, and then they become limiting beliefs. So don't spend your life, don't spend your day creating excuses or reasons as to why you can't do something. Stop looking at what you can't do. Choose a positive perspective in your attitude and say, what can I do? What can I do? Because that gives us hope for the future. It's a fundamental mindset shift. And I know it sounds so simple, but like some of the most powerful leadership principles in life, simple isn't always easy. Simple isn't always easy. It sounds really good. It sounds pretty simple, but doing it is a whole nother ball of wax. It's really that mindset shift, and it's just like January is coming up in a couple of for several weeks, and so many people will make a New Year's resolution, but they won't act on it. It sounds good in the moment, but carrying it out is sometimes more difficult. But choosing the right attitude will help us empower us in doing that. The right attitude provides a perspective of saying my ability isn't predetermined, but rather my effort and my attitude determines my ability. It really is not using what happens to us in life as an excuse, and I think I've touched on that already. But I just can't say it enough, because so many of us nobody gets it right 100% of time. I will tell you, I'm the first to say there are days when I just don't get it right. And I catch myself kind of headed down a negative path, or thinking negative thoughts, and giving those negative thoughts power over me. And, when that happens, I really just have to stop and say, I've got to shift my thinking. So I want to give you 3 tips that will help you switch that mindset into an attitude of positivity instead of negativity. So three things that you can shift your mindset. The 3 keys that I talk about unlocking a positive attitude. Number 1, shift your thinking. And I shared this with you, that sometimes I feel a negative attitude creeping in my day or my thoughts, and I stop myself immediately as soon as I realize that. So stop immediately and ask yourself why you are feeling that way. Identifying the why is not going to make the feeling go away, but it will help you consciously change your thinking patterns. I kind of like to use the analogy of a train station. There are two trains in the station, and one's traveling on the negative tracks. And that direction, there is darkness, and there's despair and depression and destruction. And the other train is traveling on a positive track. And that destination is possibilities and potential and positivity. And the train that you choose to board is going to determine your emotional destination. So shift your thinking. Sean Stevenson is a motivational speaker, and he says the next time you find yourself stressing out, look for what's funny in the situation instead of what's not fair. You're holding a very powerful flashlight, your conscious awareness, and be very careful where you shine it, because that's where you choose to focus on. So shift your thinking. That's the very first step. Now the next thing, shift your language. Our words are very powerful because the words that we speak determine the reality we seek. Our language reveals our mindset. So carefully guard how you're talking. Listen to yourself talk sometimes. Are your words positive or are they negative? Some examples of negative language that we might not even realize. Sometimes these words sneak into our vocabulary. Um, Words like I have to do this, I hate to do this, I can't do this, or it's not fair. Those are words that really reflect our mindset and is shifting into a victim mindset. So, some positive language examples to shift to. When you find yourself saying, I have to, or I hate to, or I can't, stop and shift your language to words like, I choose to, I get to, or I'm grateful for. And number 3, shift your behavior. Our physical behavior helps create mental positive emotions. Sometimes you go to the gym and you really don't feel like it. And you go for just 20 minutes, but you end up feeling better. And you kind of behave your way into an attitude change. William Glasser talks about this a little bit, and he says if you want to change attitudes, start with a change in behavior. In other words, begin to act the part as well as you can of the person you would rather be and the person you most want to become. And gradually, the old person will fade away. So kind of shift your behavior. Stop and think about, well, what would a positive person be doing? What would someone who has joy in their life be doing this moment? What books would they read? What shows would they watch? What would they listen to? How would they be spending their spare time? I know a lady that wanted to start her day more positively by exercising at 5:30 a.m. twice a week. And she shared with me, she's like, I'm not really a morning person, and I don't like to get up early. But my secret is I go to sleep in my workout clothes, because then I figured out if I put my workout clothes on before I go to bed, I'll feel like exercising more as soon as I wake up. Act like you like it, and you will begin to feel like you like it. Now, these are 3 just they're again, very simple, but very powerful ways that we can shift our mindset. And shifting our mindset helps us shift our direction that we're traveling. And quite honestly, most of us enjoy being around positive people more than negative people. So I want to be that positive influence on other people's lives. So, that's going to increase your influence, whether it's at work, whether it's at home. You've probably heard the phrase negative Nelly. Being a negative Nelly is a drag, and nobody really enjoys being around that person unless they're also that kind of person. And so, really, those 3 keys, there again, it says easy and does hard, and I recognize that. But we absolutely can do it. And I'll tell you the secret. The more we do it, the easier it becomes. It's why I wrote my book, A Grateful Heart, Practicing Gratitude for 30 Days, because it really is a choice that we make, but we have to practice it. Practice makes better. Practice makes improvement. Practice doesn't make perfect. None of us are perfect, but practice does make better. And that's the key, is just getting up and being intentional about it every single day, every single way that we can. Until next time.
Start increasing your influence and maximizing your potential with Ria's audiobooks. Available at audible.com, amazon.com, and iBooks. Please visit riastory.com to learn about Ria's books, resources, speaking, and training programs. Thanks for listening.